In the early 17th century, in the frigid lands of Northeast Asia, a formidable leader emerged among the Manchu people. This leader, Nurhaci, was no ordinary chieftain. He was a visionary who sought to unite the scattered Manchu tribes under a single banner. With a combination of military prowess and political cunning, Nurhaci forged the Eight Banners, a unique military and social system that would become the backbone of his people's strength. At the time, the mighty Ming Dynasty ruled China. It was a dynasty with a glorious past, having overthrown the Mongol-led Yuan dynasty and re-established Han Chinese rule. But after nearly 3 centuries of governance, the Ming dynasty was weakening. Corruption spread like a disease through the court, and the common people, suffering under heavy taxes and neglect, began to rise in rebellion. The once proud Ming military faltered, unable to quash the growing discontent. On the borders, the Manchus, who had once been a distant threat, grew stronger with each passing year. As Nurhaci's son, Taiji, ascended to leadership, the Manchus began to set their sights on the crumbling Ming Empire. Taiji needed more than just military might, he needed legitimacy. Thus, in 1636, he declared the establishment of the Qing Dynasty, proclaiming himself emperor and positioning the Manchus as rightful heirs to the Ming throne. In 1644, the fateful moment arrived. A massive peasant rebellion, Li Zicheng, swept across northern China. Li's forces captured Beijing, the heart of the Ming Empire. The last Ming emperor, Chongzhen, despairing at the collapse of his dynasty, hanged himself on a lonely hill outside the Forbidden City. With the Ming court in disarray, the door was open for the Manchus to strike. But the Manchus were not the first to arrive in Beijing. General Wu Sangui, a powerful Ming commander, faced a dilemma. Li Zicheng's rebels were on one side, and the Manchus were on the other. In a fateful decision, Wu Sangui chose to open the gates of the Great Wall to the Manchus, forming an alliance that would change China's destiny. The early years of Qing rule were marked by fierce resistance. From loyalists to the fallen Ming dynasty, the Manchus faced rebellion after rebellion, but they were relentless in their pursuit of power. They adopted many aspects of Chinese culture, including Confucianism, to legitimize their rule and win the loyalty of the Han Chinese majority. Yet, they also imposed their customs, such as the notorious queue hairstyle, a symbol of submission to Manchu authority. Resistance was met with brutal repression, but gradually, the Manchus consolidated their control. Amidst this turmoil, a young boy ascended the throne in 1661. He would grow to become one of the greatest emperors in Chinese history. Kangxi was only 7 years old when he became emperor, but his reign would last for an astonishing 61 years. Under his rule, the Qing dynasty not only stabilized, but flourished. Kangxi was a scholar, a warrior, and a patron of the arts. He led military campaigns that expanded the empire's borders and crushed internal revolts. He also opened China's doors to Jesuit missionaries, who introduced Western science and technology to the Chinese court. Kangxi's reign was followed by that of his son, the Yongzheng Emperor. While less charismatic than his father, Yongzheng was a tireless administrator. He worked to centralize power, eliminate corruption, and improve the efficiency of the government. His reign was short, lasting only 13 years, but it laid the groundwork for the prosperity that continued under his son, the Qianlong Emperor. The Qianlong Emperor, who ascended the throne in 1735, presided over the Qing dynasty at the height of its power. Under his rule, the Qing Empire expanded to its greatest territorial extent, incorporating regions such as Tibet, Xinjiang, and Mongolia. He ordered the compilation of the Sikuquanshu, the largest collection of Chinese literature in history, and collected thousands of works of art, making the imperial court a center of cultural brilliance. Yet, even as the Qing dynasty reached its zenith, the seeds of decline were being sown. In the later years of Qianlong's reign, the empire became increasingly corrupt and inefficient. Qianlong himself became more indulgent, entrusting much of the empire's administration to his favorite eunuch, Hessian, whose corruption became infamous. Despite outward appearances, the empire was beginning to weaken, and the storm clouds of the 19th century were gathering on the horizon. The 19th century would prove to be a time of unparalleled challenges for the Qing dynasty. The first blow came in the form of the Opium Wars. European powers, particularly the British, had long sought to balance their trade deficit with China. They found a solution in opium, which they began smuggling into China in large quantities. The Qing government, alarmed by the devastating effects of opium addiction on its people, attempted to crack down on the trade. But the British, unwilling to relinquish their profits, responded with military force. The First Opium War, 1839 to 1842, was a humiliating defeat for the Qing dynasty. The British, with their advanced naval technology and disciplined forces, quickly overwhelmed Qing defenses. The war ended with the Treaty of Nanking, the first of many unequal treaties that China would be forced to sign. Hong Kong was ceded to Britain, and several ports were opened to foreign trade under terms that heavily favored the Western powers. So as the Qing dynasty struggled to cope with foreign aggression, internal strife compounded its problems. The most devastating of these internal challenges was the Taiping Rebellion, 1850 to 1864. Led by Hong Xiuquan, who claimed to be the younger brother of Jesus Christ, the Taiping movement sought to overthrow the Qing Dynasty and establish a new Christian kingdom in China. The rebellion spread like wildfire across southern China, leading to the deaths of millions and leaving vast regions in ruins. The Qing government, already weakened by its wars with the West, struggled to contain the uprising and was forced to rely on regional armies led by warlords. In the face of these crises, some Qing officials recognized the need for reform. The self-strengthening movement, 1861 to 1895, was an attempt to modernize China by adopting Western technology and military methods, while preserving traditional Confucian values. New arsenals, shipyards, and schools were established, and there was a push to modernize the military. However, the movement was hampered by internal resistance, corruption, and a lack of comprehensive vision. The Qing dynasty's attempts at reform were too little, too late. The situation worsened with the outbreak of the First Sino-Japanese War, 1894 to 1895. Japan, a rising power that had successfully modernized during the Meiji Restoration, clashed with China over control of Korea. The Qing dynasty, burdened by internal strife and outdated military technology, suffered a devastating defeat. The war ended with the Treaty of Shimonoseki, which forced China to cede Taiwan to Japan and recognize Korea's independence. The defeat shattered any remaining illusions of Qing strength and exposed the empire's deep-seated weaknesses. The final blow came in the form of the Boxer Rebellion, 1899 to 1901. The Boxers were a secret society that harbored a deep hatred for foreigners and Chinese Christians, whom they blamed for China's woes. With the support of the Qing court, the Boxers launched a violent uprising, attacking foreign embassies and missionaries across northern China. In response, an 8-nation alliance, including Britain, Japan, Russia, and the United States, intervened militarily, crushing the rebellion and imposing further humiliations on the Qing government. The Boxer Protocol, signed in 1901, imposed massive indemnities on China and allowed foreign troops to be stationed in Beijing, further eroding Qing sovereignty. By the early 20th century, the Qing dynasty was a shadow of its former self. Corruption, internal dissent, and foreign domination had left the empire teetering on the brink of collapse. Reformers and revolutionaries alike called for an end to Manchu rule and the establishment of a republic. The spark that ignited the final revolution came on October 10, 1911, when a group of revolutionary soldiers in Wuchang rose up against the Qing government. This Wuchang uprising quickly spread, leading to a series of uprisings across China. On February 12, 1912, under immense pressure, the last emperor of China, the child Puyi, officially abdicated the throne. The Qing dynasty was no more. In its place, the Republic of China was born, led by the revolutionary leader Sun Yat-sen and the ambitious military leader Yuan Shikai.